Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines. Project Sandman, 100 countries set to drop the U.S. dollar. And we got Chris Giancarlo from the Digital Dollar Project who tells us about Liberty Coin, Freedom Coin. It could be the most desired digital dollar in the world. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter for exclusive content. Right now, $1.23 trillion market cap for cryptocurrency. It's up by 0.4%. 28,600 plus for Bitcoin, $1,800 slightly over for Ethereum. Tether market cap, $79.5 billion, they say. XRP is 54 cents. We're up 28.1% on the 7-day, but off by 4.5% on the 24-hour. Let's take a look at Fiat Link. It says we're actually at 55 cents. We're ranging between 57 and 54 cents on the 24-hour. We're going to keep an eye on it. We got some news for you here today. Link2 members worldwide are capitalizing on our PolySign offering. Build your private equity portfolio, including a top-performing private company. Invest in PolySign today on Link2. Yeah, take a listen to this quick little clip here. You're going to love it.
Many of our members scored yesterday by participating in Link2's PolySign offering, capitalizing on a company with high growth potential. PolySign is at the epicenter of all things transformational in the finance industry and is guided by a highly credible management team, backers, and advisors, and the company owns patented technology that's trailblazing the digital asset industry. And to top that off, it's never been easier to invest in companies like PolySign thanks to Link2's proprietary investment technology. Link2 is in the trenches right alongside PolySign, radically transforming how accredited investors invest in private companies with our simple application. Don't miss your chance to invest in private companies available on Link2's investment platform. Build your private equity portfolio with Link2.
Absolutely. And shout out to Ray Fuentes and the Link2 family there. Click the link below and get your private equity. It runs out so quickly. You just never know when the door's going to be shut. And you never know when the door may not open again to be able to get it. So make sure you get it. You know what I'm reminded about with PolySign? I'm reminded about the tuck-in or bolt-on idea that could happen with PolySign. Could be very attractive for a very large institution to just buy PolySign and bring it in and tuck it in to their business model. How about that one? Yeah. Tell them Brad sent you and tell him I said to come on in. Yeah. This is James K. Filan right here sharing Stuart Alderoty's tweet, which has got some fire to it here. The SEC's $2.2 billion funding request includes $680 million for 1,500 enforcement staff. So how much of this is for rulemaking to provide actual guidance versus more enforcement actions that stretch theories and the SEC's jurisdiction far past any faithful allegiance to the law? Well said, Stuart Alderoty right there. And shout out to Jim Filan for that one. Yeah, I tell you, it is despicable the way Gary Gensler's been handling that agency, no doubt about it. And right here, Ratha Kamnan reminds all of us to keep an eye on India. Ripple user Fable Fintech is in talks with public sector banks in India to provide their platform for cross-border corporate trade FX to 9 out of 10 large PSU banks, including HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, and IDFC Bank, First Bank, and public sector Canara Bank. Say all of that 5 times fast. I dare you. As a reminder, he shows us back here in 2018. Remember what Ashish Birla said. Ripple claims its 50% share in India is inroad to global markets. I'll never forget that. So India is definitely a place to watch, and so is Japan with SBI and Yoshitaka Kotal. And not only that, we need to be watching the global landscape here and what's really been happening. We've been talking a lot about BRICS because BRICS is expanding. BRICS is making arrangements to drop the U.S. dollar. And here we see more information of that as Saudi Arabia is entering a trade alliance with China, Russia, India, Pakistan, and 4 Central Asian nations to step further away from reliance on the US dollar. Is this thing on? Hello. Let's take a look at it right here. This is exactly what we're talking about. Specifically reported by Saudi Arabia's cabinet has approved a recent memorandum to take steps towards joining the China-led security bloc. Additionally, the report notes that the move strengthens Riyadh's eastern ties in a further step away from U.S. interests. Something is afoot here, ladies and gentlemen. And then there's this. I saw this yesterday in a thread of Molly Elmore. Shout out to her. Give her a follow. And shout out to Crypto Family for sharing this. It said, abandon the petrodollar. When this decision is triggered, the dollar and all dollar-denominated assets will plunge to near zero literally overnight, it says. 100-plus nations have global agreement now being deployed called Project Sandman to drop and end dominance of the U.S. dollar and petrodollar. Well, that is disturbing, okay? And I'm not sharing it to be an alarmist here, but it's disturbing. And if we look at this, this is all I could basically find on it so far. And basically, this is really the scenario ICE 9 that James Rickards has told us about. Shout out to Jim Rickards. But it sounds exactly like that kind of a scenario here. Project Sandman describes a 100-nation agreement that, when triggered, to see all those nations simultaneously dump the dollar and abandon the petrodollar status, has allowed the U.S. to enjoy 50 years of fiat currency counterfeiting and material abundance at the expense of everyone else. When this decision is triggered, the dollar and all dollar-denominated assets will plunge near zero. This means all dollar-denominated bank accounts, bonds, pension funds, treasuries, and other investments vehicles will essentially be worth zero for simple reason that all banks and markets will freeze operations. And like I said, this is the scenario that was painted by Jim Rickards in the ICE 9 scenario, right? Any funds you have in stock market will be stuck in those markets. The entire infrastructure, banking, finance will suffer catastrophic liquidity crisis that will freeze nearly all transactions. Credit cards will stop functioning, food stamp machines, ATMs. You get the idea, the halting of everything. It goes on to say that this Project Sandman that is suggested here, or ICE 9 scenario, is a dollar collapse is a deliberate plan to force the starving masses into the digital dollar control grid. We all know that is what we're talking about here, is to force everyone into a digital dollar system run by the banksters, it says, and certainly the governments, right? The powers that be. That's what we're talking about here. So, inside of that idea and understanding, I found this incredible clip of Chris Giancarlo talking with CoinDesk, and you need to hear every single bit of it. It is an amazing clip. Shout out to Blockchain Chucker. This awesome clip of Chris Giancarlo is discussing the Digital Dollar Project, as you know, which he heads up. And don't forget that Chris Giancarlo also wrote a paper about how XRP breaks the Howey test. It does not fall in line with it, and that it is not a security. Shout out to Chris Giancarlo here. But he talks about the progress for a U.S. digital dollar and how, if done right, he calls it the Liberty coin or Freedom coin, will be the most desired digital dollar in the world. Take a listen here.
The United States as the dominant player in the last century's financial system, in the analog bank-based proprietary balance sheet financial system, is struggling with this change. It doesn't surprise me that we have forces of resistance and forces of progress battling out for what is going to be the United States. Now, other countries have worked this out. They didn't dominate the old system so greatly that they're going to resist this new transformation. They're going to accelerate it. The United States is trying to work that out. Ultimately, the United States, as I think it was Winston Churchill said, after trying all the alternatives, the United States always does the right thing. Eventually, we'll realize that our future is in an internet of value. Eventually, we'll take our rightful place as the leader of this change. But right now, we're still fighting out as to whether we're going to be a leader or whether we're going to be a resistor to this movement of value away from proprietary balance sheets to an internet-based basis of value outside. So my views from the outside are probably no better than yours. What I've really been focusing on this day is looking further down that road. I'm looking around the world. It's clear to me, very clear, that the world is advancing with central bank digital currency. Many central banks' reaction to this movement of value to the internet is to say, if we can't beat them, let's join them. And it began with China, which is, as you know, already placed its digital yuan, what it calls its ECNY, in over 240 million Chinese wallet holders. And that's an 18-month-old figure, by the way. It may be double that number by now. But around the world, over 114 countries are working on central bank digital currency. 50 of them are advanced stages of development. 19 of the G20. Europe has said they'll start beginning rolling out their digital euro by 2025. And Great Britain has said they'll have a digital pound by the end of the decade. So the question is, what is going to be the United States response to this?
That's, the perfect segue, because we also learned last week that Senator Ted Cruz was introducing a bill aiming at blocking CBDCs at the federal level in the United States. Governor DeSantis also in Florida wanted to ban it at a state level. And then we also hear from the Fed wanting to create Fed Now. So where does that put the development of a CBDC in the United States with the Digital Dollar Project, which you've been working on, and what the Fed is now wanting to release Fed Now, and what we're seeing in policymakers wanting to ban them altogether?
Listen carefully.
Well, with so much development going on, and here in the United States, a lot of public figures, leaders are now coming to this issue. You know, I've been focusing on it for about 3 years. A lot of folks are now coming to it, and they are rightfully, quite legitimately, and I include Ted Cruz in this, I include Congressman House Whip Tom Emmer, I include Governor DeSantis. They are rightfully concerned about how do we protect privacy? How do we protect people's autonomy in a digital-based, an internet-based financial system, a central, a sovereign and non-sovereign digital currency? And they are looking to the Chinese model, which is, let's face it, has already created a benchmark for what a central bank digital currency could look like. And they're saying that is not sufficiently private for our citizens. That provides the state with the ability to not only surveil, but potentially even censor people's economic choices. And they're saying, just say no to that form of central bank digital currency. Where I differ with them is the assumption that we in America, the world's most ingenuitive nation history's ever known, could not design a very different central bank digital currency, what I'd like to call a liberty coin, a freedom coin, where we actually, as an affirmative choice, design privacy into this central bank digital currency. Why can't we counter China and to some degree Europe with a digital currency that actually affirmatively creates privacy, and not even affirmatively, operationally and transparently as privacy? So you don't need to have the government trust us, we're not surveilling you. Build it into the architecture using open architecture so that people can satisfy themselves that they're not being surveilled. Right. If the United States were to develop that form of central bank digital currency, that digital dollar would take over the world, because aspirational people the world over would want to use that currency as opposed to another central bank digital currency that is a surveillance tool for a government.
Well, I tell you what, I don't think you can say it any better than that. And Christian Carlos got me fired up right there, because I completely align with what he's saying there. And I tell you, I hope that his vision is where we can end up here. And if we do, we can leapfrog to the front of the line and be the leader in this digital revolution and industrial race here. No question about it. Now, let's take a look at this, because famous investor here, trader, I should say, veteran trader Peter Brandt expects XRP to touch $3. And we know that there's a lot of technical analysts that we look at every day that are looking for a lot more than $3 around here, Peter. But we got to get there first, don't we? So we'll take a look at it today. Let's see what he says here very quickly here. He basically goes into this and says he sees a bullish outlook, and it's set to hit $3 near the all-time high. He lays it all out here. There's no sense in going into it, because I don't understand most of it anyway. But the truth is in particular, Brant expects XRP to touch $3 per coin. It's not a financial advice from me or him or anyone else, I'm sure. The positive expectations from XRP community regarding the SEC case could be among the catalysts to actuality of this price action predicted by the renowned TA guru. We shall see, ladies and gentlemen. Again, not financial advice from me or anyone else. We're waiting for a decision, a ruling, settlement, something from the SEC versus Ripple case. We know it's coming. We just don't know when. That's going to do it for me. I'll catch all of you on the next one.